Have you ever wondered what dark secrets might be hiding behind the most seemingly innocent family gatherings? The crisp November air hung heavy with anticipation as the Jensen family's annual Thanksgiving reunion approached. What should have been a warm celebration of family, gratitude, and tradition would soon become a nightmare that would forever shatter their understanding of love, loyalty, and survival. Margaret Jensen's hands trembled slightly as she sealed the last of the cream-coloured invitations. At 78 years old, her fingers were gnarled with arthritis, but her mind remained sharp as a razor's edge. Each envelope contained more than just an invitation. They carried a promise, a reckoning decades in the making. The return address was simple: 1847 Blackwood Lane, a farmhouse that had stood witness to generations of Jensen family history, a history stained with blood, secrets, and unspeakable rituals that no one dared discuss. As the first invitation arrived at her children's and grandchildren's homes, a cold wind swept through each location, a harbinger of the terror that would soon consume them all. Sarah Jensen Rodriguez stared at the elegantly scripted invitation, a sense of unease crawling up her spine. Her grandmother Margaret had always been different. Eccentric, some would say. Disturbing, others whispered behind her back. "Honey, look at this," she called to her husband Michael. Michael examined the invitation, his brow furrowing. "She wants the entire family to come, even after—" He didn't finish the sentence. They both knew about the tensions, the unspoken tragedies that had fractured the Jensen family over the years. Their teenage daughter, Emma, peered over her father's shoulder. "What's so special about this Thanksgiving?" Sarah's laugh was brittle, forced. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just another family gathering." But something in her mother's eyes told Emma that this was anything but ordinary. The farmhouse loomed against the grey November sky, its weathered wooden exterior a testament to decades of untold stories. Generations of Jensens had lived and died within those walls, and the house seemed to breathe with a life of its own. As cars rolled up the long gravel driveway, each family member felt an inexplicable sense of dread. Uncle Robert's BMW, Aunt Linda's minivan, Cousin David's pickup truck. They all converged like tributaries leading to a dark, inevitable river. Grandmother Margaret stood on the wraparound porch, her steel-grey hair pulled back in a tight bun, her eyes, sharp and penetrating, scanning each arriving vehicle. She was dressed entirely in black, a colour of mourning that seemed perpetually etched into her wardrobe. "Welcome home," she said, her voice carrying an unsettling mixture of warmth and something else, something predatory. As the family gathered in the large dining room, the tension was palpable. Generations of unresolved conflicts simmered just beneath the surface. Old photographs lined the walls, sepia-toned images of stern-faced ancestors whose eyes seemed to follow every movement. Margaret sat at the head of the table, her plate untouched. "Before we eat," she announced, "there are things that must be discussed." A hush fell over the room. Children stopped their playful chatter. Adults exchanged nervous glances. "Our family," Margaret continued, "has a legacy, a responsibility, and today we will honour that legacy, whether you wish to or not." The dining room fell silent as Margaret's gaze swept across her descendants. Each family member felt an invisible weight pressing down on them, a gravity of ancestral secrets that threatened to suffocate. "Our family," Margaret began, her voice low and rhythmic, "is not like other families. We are guardians, vessels, carriers of a promise made long before any of you were born." Uncle Robert shifted uncomfortably. He'd heard whispers of these stories throughout his childhood, always dismissed as the ramblings of an old woman. But something in his grandmother's eyes told him this was different. "In 1847, Margaret continued, "our ancestor, Ezekiel Jensen, made a compact with something beyond human comprehension, a being that existed between worlds, a creature that demanded blood and loyalty in exchange for protection and prosperity." Aunt Linda's daughter, young Rachel, giggled nervously. "Grandma, you're scaring the kids." Margaret's eyes locked onto Rachel. "Some fears are necessary, child. Some truths must be understood." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Frost began to form on the windows, despite it being a mild autumn day. Margaret pulled from beneath her chair an ancient leather-bound book. Its pages were yellowed, edges frayed, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and move when not directly observed. "Each generation," she explained, "must provide a sacrifice, not of death, but of something far more precious, a piece of our soul, our future, our potential." She opened the book. Intricate genealogical charts filled the pages, with certain names crossed out in what looked like dried blood. "Our prosperity, our success, our protection, all of it comes from this covenant. Every Jensen who has achieved greatness did so because of this pact." Michael, Sarah's husband, a pragmatic software engineer, couldn't contain himself. "This is ridiculous. You're talking about some supernatural—" His words were cut short. The candles on the table flickered, then extinguished simultaneously. In the sudden darkness, something moved. Something that was not human. A low, guttural sound emerged from the shadows. It wasn't a growl, nor was it a whisper. It was a sound that existed between language and pure, primal emotion. Emma, Sarah's daughter, felt something cold wrap around her ankle. When she looked down, there was nothing there. But the sensation of being watched, of being hunted, was overwhelming. "The creature requires its tribute," Margaret said, her voice now different, older, deeper. "And this year's tribute will be special." The family members looked at each other, a mix of terror and confused resignation. They had all, in some unconscious way, known this moment would come. The unspoken family tradition, the weird gatherings, the unexplained disappearances, the sacrificial ritual was about to begin. One by one, Margaret began to draw strange symbols on the foreheads of her family members. Each symbol was different, intricate, seemingly drawn from an alphabet no human had ever spoken. When she touched each person, they saw fleeting images, terrible visions of past sacrifices, of family members who had vanished, of the prosperity that came immediately after each ritual. Uncle Robert saw his successful law firm, Aunt Linda's miraculous recovery from cancer, Cousin David's unexpected oil field discovery. The price had always been paid, and now it was time to pay again. "Each generation," Margaret explained, "must choose. One will be the vessel. One will carry the burden of our family's protection." Her eyes landed on Emma. The teenage girl felt a chill run through her body. "No," Sarah whispered, "not my daughter." But even as she said it, she knew. The choice was never truly theirs. The thing that emerged from the shadows was neither human nor animal. It was a collection of darkness, of whispers, of unfulfilled promises, and generational trauma. It moved not with legs, but with intention. Its form was fluid, changing. Sometimes it looked like a mass of tentacles, Other times, it resembled a swirling mass of human faces, all screaming silently. "The tribute," Margaret said, "must be willing." Emma stood as if in a trance. Part of her was terrified. Part of her understood. What happened next would never be fully understood by those outside the Jensen family. Emma walked towards the creature. Her family watched, paralyzed. The creature extended what might have been a tendril, might have been a hand. They touched. A burst of light, a scream that was both external and internal. And then, silence. When the other families arrived for dessert, everything seemed normal. Emma smiled. Margaret smiled. The turkey was delicious. As dawn broke on the day after Thanksgiving, only Margaret remained in the farmhouse. A slight smile played on her lips. The legacy continued. No one would ever know the truth. Was this just a story? Or could something like this be happening in families around you right now? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel for more terrifying tales that blur the line between fiction and reality. And remember, some family secrets are better left buried.